Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Pro Wrestling Throwdown for the week of December 12th, 2020. I'm Caleb Black. This is Luke the Big Dog Williams, our in-studio producer, the mighty Max Fury, and it's time for What If? This What If segment was brought to you via a podcast
by the letter U
that Renee Paquette had her first guest being CM Punk. CM Punk was asked, what would it take to bring you back to wrestling? And he said two things, a real good story and a whole bunch of money, which obviously not the worst fucking answer to give pro wrestling. So,
especially with as much money as being thrown around.
Right. As we do, Luke and I and Maximilian got to brainstorming about what would happen if CM Punk came back to the wrestling business. So we're going to offer up two separate perspectives. What if the WWE managed to re-sign CM Punk at the right price with the right story? What would they do with him and where would they put him? Vice versa, what if AEW came up with the money and had some time for CM Punk? What would they do with him? I'm going to work from the perspective of AEW. Luke's going to give us the booking from the WWE's perspective, and we're going to jump right into it. Luke, what would the WWE today do with a CM Punk if they manage to make him the right offer? What's the story that's bringing him back? What are they going to do with him? Lay it all out there.
What would they do with him? Everything that they could possibly do wrong, they would do.
I don't disagree with that.
No, I'm kidding. No, if you're going to bring Punk back, Punk needs to come back in the idea of still being the voice of the voiceless.
Yeah, still being anti-WWE.
Yes. Bring him back as more of a destructive force to the status quo.
Yeah. Upset the established order.
Have him brought... Honestly, I don't really know where he would fit in the scheme of things that's going on right now, logistically. Yeah,
pandemic world, and all the different things.
Because, you want... If you're going to have Punk come back, you want
got to be in front of a crowd. So let's work off the assumption there is no pandemic.
I would bring him back. I would throw him right in with Daniel Bryan. Reason I say that is because that's why he left in the first place. They didn't want to put, he was a big advocate for Daniel Bryan being the heavyweight champion. Daniel Bryan did not become the heavyweight champion until CM Punk left because it was a big FU to CM Punk.
Yeah.
So what you do is you have him come back and you have him throw that in Bryan's face. It wasn't for me
you wouldn't be
leaving. You wouldn't have got the push. You wouldn't have got this. You wouldn't have got that. It sets itself. Would be perfect. Where I would put him, I would have... Honestly, I would have him an Edge run.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Because, you're going to get a guaranteed 5-star match out of both those boys.
Not to mention, you could do this straight Edge versus the rated R.
Yes.
And you could get some really good shit out of that.
If there was one thing I would say for like a Mania matchup, put him against Orton.
Yeah.
Orton is by far the WWE, with the exception of Roman Reigns, again, logistically, he's the best heel you have.
Agreed.
And he's the most tenured heel you have.
Yeah.
And he's somebody no matter how long you've been out of the business or whatnot, Randy Orton's going to pull a 5-star classic.
Yep.
Randy Orton and CM Punk would sell tickets.
Yep.
And that's what Vince McMahon wants to do. He wants to sell tickets.
Yeah, he wants to fill the house. And get people watching again, which Punk would do that.
Or you bring Triple H back into the fold and you get the match that was supposed to take place at Mania.
Yeah.
When he left. You bring him in,
let him
come in and be like, now the company is really taken over by the doofus son-in-law.
And his idiot daughter.
That's how you would do it.
Yep.
You bring him in. Honestly, the first thing you should do is have Vince McMahon call him to the ring and have Punk GTS McMahon. Have him send McMahon to sleep. You have Triple H come out, and that's where you start. You're off to the races.
Yep. Comes in hot.
Although WWE would book it wrong, and they would book H over Punk, and that doesn't make sense.
No.
But, several different feuds I would go with it. I would book him against the higher echelon of the WWE.
I think Punk and Rollins you can get some real good traction out of.
You could, but
I'd save that. I wouldn't hotshot that.
I don't know. It's really hard because, honestly, the one guy I would want to see him work is in the company you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And I would want Ambrose and Punk.
Moxley and Punk, yeah, for sure.
Because they're the same guy.
Yeah. The anti-establishment.
But yeah, bring Punk back. Throw him in. Honestly, if you want to throw him in immediately, Randy Orton's the way to go.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
The match quality,
especially now considering like there's no Cena to kind of reintroduce to.
Right.
Randy Orton is really the corporate guy. Like
Randy Orton is the John Cena.
Yeah.
Right now.
An argument could be made for guys like Drew or Roman or whatever, but Orton's the most tenured. He's the company guy.
The thing with Roman and the thing with Drew is they're too big.
Yeah.
If you're going to bring Punk in, you want somebody that's going to be able to wrestle Punk style.
Yeah.
But you've also got to be able to wrestle Punk's match.
Yeah.
It's got to be somebody that you can actually get that classic with. And I don't think that Randy Orton, I don't think that Roman Reigns or Drew McIntyre could. It's not that I don't think they could pull it out of Punk.
Yeah.
I don't think Punk could pull it out of them.
Yeah.
Or you break the mold, and you really want to get that Wednesday Night War over, you put Punk in NXT.
Ooh.
You send Punk in NXT to take out Adam Cole and to lead the Undisputed Era. Then you take your Undisputed Era and you call him up.
Yeah, that's a great call. That's a great fucking call. I didn't even think about Punk on NXT.
Because you put him on NXT, you put him against people like Ciampa.
Yep.
You could put him against
Finn Balor.
There's so many different
Finn
ways
Balor
you could
and
go.
Fucking CM Punk. Take my money.
It would literally be him and Adam Cole. I think would be perfect. It would be one of them throwbacks to like the classic CM Punk Ring of Honor,
and the promos between Cole and Punk would sell it.
And then you have him lead. You have him do with the Undisputed Era what should have been done with the Nexus.
I agree.
Except with the Undisputed Era, you've got the talent to be able to do what should have been done.
Yeah.
With Nexus, they just didn't have the talent.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Also, I'd just like to see CM Punk and Adam Cole.
Yeah, 100%. I would pay for that match. I'm sure it's Gargano Ring of Honor at some point, but
him and Gargano would be
him and
money.
Gargano, him and Karrion Kross.
The Karrion Kross thing is again the size thing, or that would be fantastic. Dexter Lumis.
I was going to say Dexter Lumis fits into that mold.
Sure.
Roddy,
for sure.
They'd have a fucking technical clinic. Yeah, him and O'Reilly. That'd be hard hitting as shit.
Yeah, it really would.
Yeah.
But that's why I think that would be if you're going to go main roster, Randy Orton. If you want to really do something special, the Undisputed Era.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's how I would look at it.
Yeah. Mine would stem a little bit differently. I'd bring Punk in as a surprise factor. Similar to what they did with Sting, but not necessarily the same. I'd just have him show up. Right. I wouldn't announce it on the internet like they did with FTR, or I wouldn't tease it. I wouldn't have the conversation happening. I'd just have him show up. And basically have him come in and be legit. Talk about how AEW, when the company came to fruition, they sent him a text message. They didn't make him a real offer. They didn't sit down with him. They didn't offer him anything. And now, all of a sudden, because they need the ratings, they contact CM Punk. So I said, I want ridiculous money, and Tony Khan signed the check. So I'm going to take his money. And I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do, however the fuck I want to do it.
You could also swing that story as him coming in, like you said, no fanfare. That would be automatic first run with Cody Rhodes because you can do the whole, you didn't offer me a contract, you text messaged me.
Right, and that comes back to Cody, his position as EVP, and not to mention the promos between Cody and Punk sells it.
Oh,
just to get him through the door. And I hate that because, like I've mentioned before, my biggest chagrin thus far is that everyone turns heel on Cody Rhodes or debuts against Cody. It's the Cena thing from like 2012. Everybody came in against Cena. Everybody had to fight Cena, and that's going to eventually happen here with Cody.
Right.
But then you can get into other stories. Number one, you already mentioned Moxley.
Yes.
Both anti-establishment guys, both indie guys. Get into Omega. And when Omega's doing the cleaner, he's the collector. Let him win some of those belts and have Punk come back and be like, well, I'm the best in the world. Who are you?
Right.
Oh, you're the cleaner? Hi, I'm CM Punk. Here's my bag.
Right.
Have them insult each other. Have them really get into it. And then obviously the legitimate feud, the one that I would wait to build, him and Cabana. You want to bring Cabana up in a serious role. You reference the fact that they had a real life falling out. You tell the story of two friends who have fallen out of place in the world. Colt, and the promos he could cut with Colt could be real because he could be like, look at you. You were the number one guy on the Indies back before anybody took
And
you
now you're a
seriously.
joke.
And now you're a joke in the Dark Order. You've been a joke everywhere you've gone. I've been a champion everywhere I've gone. Immediate Colt Cabana becomes the number one babyface. And then
Would be interesting.
you get some serious, hard-hitting fights out of the two of them. You let them hook up, and you put Cabana over at some point. You set, or even if you don't put Cabana over, it puts Cabana in a serious position, a place that really we've never seen him in before. An opportunity for him to show, yeah, I am a serious guy, and that's the perfect feud to do it because it's legit. You couldn't just grab Colt Cabana and put him in a blood feud with the Blade.
Right.
That wouldn't happen. That couldn't happen the right way. But in a blood feud with CM Punk, you could do that, and people would pay money to see it.
Also, if you wanted to go the whole straight edge idea, like how I had said over, who did I say? I don't remember. Regardless, I think we were talking about that off camera.
Yeah.
If you want to go the drug angle, you could always put him in there with Dustin Rhodes.
Oh yeah, and
be like
Jericho.
You got here. You have drug problems. You're an addict.
Yeah.
You only got here because your brother runs things.
Yeah. Go to Jericho.
One last run.
Look at you. You're a 50-year-old bloated drunk who used to be the other guy who was the best in the world.
Yeah.
And now here you are. And then obviously,
the whole. Oh, I see that you made money off my catchphrase, but that's just all it is to you is a catchphrase.
Right.
I am the best.
Right. Do you drink your champagne? You eat your shit food.
Oh,
and then,
fantastic.
Of course, the promo war between him and MJF at some point.
Of course.
Even if they don't get in the ring, let them talk at each other. Let them take the digs. Because MJF can come back and be like, yeah, you were the best in the world, but I'm better than you. He was like, I'm the youngest guy. I'm the youngest megastar in wrestling today. Look at you. You got out of the business. You went to another job, and you sucked at that. I could go be an MMA fighter right now, and I could win and do all these things and make it. Again, you could bring Punk in here. One thing AEW lacks is seriousness.
True.
They don't have any blood feuds. They don't have any hardcore fights. Punk could change that dichotomy and give some seriousness and some tenure. The shit he could do with Adam Page. With Adam Page playing the alcoholic.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
all of that shit, FTR and their beer drinking. He could come in and literally target everybody in different ways.
Yeah.
Orange Cassidy, you're lazy. You walk around here with your hands in your pockets while guys like I built the independent scene for you to turn into a joke. And now you're doing it on TV.
Could also have him come in and legitimize the Dark Order.
And of course,
be like, you guys are jokes.
Yeah.
This, that, and the other, and lead to his own cult.
And then CM Punk and Darby Allin. Because Darby Allin is also straight edge.
Mm-hmm.
So what can he say to Darby Allin? What can he insult him with? What can he, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit, if people thought about it and Tony Khan sat down and offered Punk some money and said, we want you to be the serious presence here. You're going to go into this segment, this segment, this segment, and this segment. For a year straight, people would watch just to see who the next target was.
It's true.
That's my how AEW should spend money instead of, no offense to the hardworking independent wrestlers that have an opportunity right now, pay a legitimate star to come in and legitimize the other talent. Use his skills, use his strengths, and you want dollars to fucking donuts. If I'm wrong, I will eat a piece of paper out of my notebook. CM Punk will go to AEW sometime between now and the end of 2021. Mark my words. I'm calling it right now. And how many times are we wrong?
Not very often.
Not very often. Guys, that's our What If segment. What do you think? Wait a minute. We got like a minute left. Max, what do you think about CM Punk? Where would you take it? Back to the E or to AEW?
I would take him out to have a good time.
Attaboy.
He doesn't drink. Remember that.
I don't either.
He's going to remind you often.
There's plenty more to do.
All right, guys. That's our What If segment. Let us know what you think about CM Punk in the comments down below. After you like and subscribe, send us an email at prowrestlingthrowdown@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/prowrestlingthrowdown. Follow us on Twitter at prowrestlingtd. And be sure to tune in a couple weeks when we go back live on Twitch at Pro Wrestling Throwdown. Stay tuned. We got more videos coming your way. Blah.